On January 30, 2026, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the nomination of Kevin Warsh as the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. Kevin Warsh's life story is nothing short of extraordinary. Born in 1970 into a middle-class family in New York, with a father who owned a company and a mother who was a journalist, he was immersed in elite education from a young age. He graduated from Stanford University and then earned a PhD from Harvard, truly a life winner. But what really launched his life into another stratosphere was his marriage to Jane Lauder in 2002. The last name alone speaks volumes. She is the granddaughter of Mrs. Estee Lauder, part of a family with old money and high status. This marriage wasn't just a wedding, it was like stepping on the accelerator of life. What's more, his father-in-law has been friends with Trump for over 60 years. In fact, it was this old man who suggested Trump should buy Greenland, so their relationship is as solid as can be. You might think Kevin just relied on marriage? Not at all. He's a self-made powerhouse too. In his younger days, he worked at Morgan Stanley and was nominated by President Bush to be a Federal Reserve governor at the age of 35, one of the youngest governors in Fed history. During the 2008 financial crisis, he played a key role in coordinating the response, showing off his strong leadership. In 2018, Trump even wanted to appoint him as Fed chair, but after an interview, he chose Jerome Powell instead. Who would have thought, after 8 years, Trump would call for Powell to get lost and nominate his friend's son-in-law instead? Kevin Warsh is truly adaptable. He was once known in financial circles as a hawk, frequently advocating for cautious monetary policies and opposing interest rate cuts. However, recently, he changed his tune, saying that moderate rate cuts are necessary. It's obvious to everyone, he's just trying to please Trump. At 55, Warsh is eager to advance, and if he doesn't seize this opportunity, he might never get another shot at the Fed chairmanship. Who wouldn't compromise for that? Whether or not he believes in the policies, when the president says something, you say it too. The strategy may seem pragmatic, but people can understand. On January 30, 2026, Trump made the official announcement on social media, praising Kevin Warsh, saying, "I've known Kevin for many years, and he is certainly capable of becoming one of the greatest Federal Reserve chairs. He's the chosen one and won't disappoint anyone." This statement sounds bold, but the nomination still needs Senate approval, so it's still up in the air. However, the news of the nomination sent shockwaves through the U.S. financial markets. The three major stock indexes all dropped sharply, with tech stocks hit even harder, and bond yields rose. In short, investors were nervous and quickly started rethinking the future direction of policies. After all, the Fed chair is no small role. One statement can impact the stock market, exchange rates, mortgages, and even the global economy. Who wouldn't be anxious? The most awkward person in this situation is Jerome Powell. Trump has been publicly slamming him, accusing him of harming the national interest by not cutting rates and even calling him an idiot. Now, Powell is directly being replaced. It's probably a mix of emotions for him, but neither the Fed nor Powell himself has spoken out, because no one wants to rock the boat before the Senate confirms the appointment. The real issue behind this situation is the growing trouble with the Fed's independence. Technically, the Fed should be independent in making monetary policies, free from political interference, with governors serving 14-year terms to avoid presidential meddling. But that's not what's been happening in recent years. After the pandemic, the Fed aggressively printed money to buy assets, pushing its balance sheet to $9 trillion, blending fiscal and monetary policies together, blurring the lines. Since Trump's return to office, he has been pressuring the Fed to cut interest rates. When Powell refused, he was publicly insulted. Now, Trump is simply replacing Powell with someone more compliant. This raises serious questions about the Fed's independence. Moreover, the U.S. economy is in a chaotic state. Federal debt has reached $38 trillion. Inflation, while slightly reduced, is still above the Fed's target. Trump's tariff wars have made it harder to lower prices. Powell's policies were pragmatic. He flooded the market with liquidity to save the economy during the pandemic and then hiked interest rates to control inflation. Yet, he was still criticized. Warsh, however, takes a completely different approach. He used to criticize the Fed for causing inflation and opposed excessive market intervention. He even resigned over his opposition to quantitative easing. Now, in an effort to climb the ranks, he's suddenly supporting interest rate cuts. His swift change in stance is reminiscent of the classic Sichuan opera face-changing technique, but sitting in the Fed chair is no easy task. Warsh wants to start with reducing the Fed's balance sheet to curb inflation, and then cut rates to please Trump. But many in the industry believe this is a fairy tale. Shrinking the balance sheet isn't that easy. It could disrupt the money market, and if that happens, there won't be any room for rate cuts. He could end up pleasing no one. Some believe that Warsh is pretending to be dovish for now, but once he's in the role, he will revert to his hawkish stance. If Trump isn't satisfied, expect another round of public insults. The bigger issue is that 2026 also sees the U.S. midterm elections. If Warsh pursues aggressive balance sheet reductions and long-term bond rates rise, mortgage costs will climb, directly contradicting Trump's desire to lower rates. Whether the two will clash is still uncertain. Also, Warsh and Trump are not in complete alignment. Warsh has previously criticized Trump's trade protectionism and excessive fiscal expansion. He has even supported a digital dollar, while Trump has been adamant about not allowing a central bank digital currency. These are ticking time bombs. In short, Warsh's rise is part of Trump's attempt to find a compliant Fed chair who will help him achieve his goal of rate cuts. Warsh, in turn, is willing to temporarily set aside his own principles to align with Trump in pursuit of his dream job. But the position of Fed chair is a tightrope walk, balancing the president's political demands, stabilizing a chaotic economy, and maintaining the Fed's credibility. It's like sitting on a volcano. Now, everyone is wondering how Warsh will act once he's in the chair. Will he continue to appease Trump with rate cuts, regardless of inflation? Or will he return to his hawkish roots and go head-to-head with Trump? After all, he's 55, this could be his last shot. Whether he will leave a positive legacy in history depends on what he does next, but whatever happens, this nomination drama is certainly exciting, and we'll just have to wait and see whether the Senate confirms it and what kind of storm Warsh will stir once he takes office.